Hello, welcome back. In this lesson, I want to tackle some of natural harmonics. This is a very common technique that you'll see in fingerstyle quite a bit. But one of the tricky things is getting all of them to ring out really well. So it's a combination of target practice, but also where you have to sort of pick some of these as well. But then as soon as you get those ringing out, knowing how to jump to the next fret when you see a sort of extended harmonic run in a fingerstyle tune, and what to do about that to make sure all of them ring out cleanly and evenly. So a lot of this comes down to so much of the fretting hand knowing exactly where to be and when, and that's what I want to talk about in this lesson. So the first thing when it comes to these harmonics is making sure that this is slightly different than what we talked about in the previous lesson. When you're playing a chord, you actually want to make sure that you're getting right behind the edge of the fret, right? Like we talked about with an A minor. Harmonics are different because we're not actually going to be touching the string to the fret. You don't want to go behind the fret. You want to go directly on the metal bar, right on the fret bar there. And if you go back behind it, like you would if you had to press, it's not going to ring out. So one thing that is helpful is to just make sure that every time you're looking for a harmonic, go directly above the fret bar, right? And that will help you, that will be one of the first steps in helping you really get those cleanly. The next thing to think about is that I always find that it's probably the easiest to play on the 12th fret for those harmonics. But then by the time you get to the 7th fret, even if you're lined up directly above that fret bar, sometimes those are quieter. They're not quite as loud. And then if you have a problem with that, then forget it. Once you get to the 5th fret, those get really quiet. So my recommendation is that sometimes when you have these down here, the 7th and the 5th fret harmonics, just actually pick closer to the bridge, and you'll notice then they just completely ring out the same way that your 12th fret does. So with those two tips, playing directly above the fret bar, and then also making sure that as you get to the 5th and 7th fret, that when your fretting hand is directly above the bar, just make sure you actually pick a little bit closer to the bridge. That can give you a little bit more clarity and some ring to it. But the next thing that's important is that if you're going to play multiple harmonics on a single fret, what happens is the best harmonic sound you can get is when you immediately play and you leave the string. That means there's not a finger there to continue dampening it like this. Right? The problem, though, is that what if you have to play, like in our exercise here, if you have to play multiple harmonics on that same fret. So what you want to do is start getting in the habit of just slight movement back and forth. There's two ways you can approach this, and depending on the context, this might be helpful for you. You can actually just go on the tip of maybe your index or your middle, and you can actually just move like this. So that as you play the note, you've left the string, you go to the next one, left the string, go to the next one. But another way that might be helpful, it's not as helpful if you're descending, but if you're going up, you can actually just move the fingers down. And so this is important for the fretting hand to have all of these options. What does the song call for that you're playing, whatever tune that you're learning right now? You might be choking the life out of some of those harmonics when just adjusting, either shifting the finger down or actually just lifting each time you get to the next one. That might help to bring those and help those ring out really well. Okay, so let's just break down what's happening in the exercise itself. We're going to start on the 5th fret, which is one of the harder harmonics to start with. But just remember what we talked about. Just pick a little bit closer to the bridge and you'll be okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually go on the 5th fret there, and then we're going to do the rest of these on the 5th fret. Okay? So remember, you can go just the tip of your finger on each of those notes and then lift, or you can kind of go. Sometimes I do a combination of the two of them, where you actually sort of just slide the finger down and then actually do the tip on the way back up, so like this. So it changes in the moment depending on what I need, but just know that those are options for you. So then you're going to do the same thing on the 7th fret. And I'm just adding 2 extra notes on there. Okay, so now we have 5th fret to the 7th fret. And when you put those 2 together, the rhythm will be like this. Okay, and then we're going to go all the way to the 5th fret now. So we're going to go back here, but you want to make sure that we're going to go, the A string is our lowest note, not the low E. Okay, and now we're going to go back to the 7th fret to do the exact same thing you did in the first measure, measure 1. Okay, and now we're going to do the same rhythm all the way down on the 12th fret now. Okay, same thing here. You can hop individually or kind of roll the finger, kind of just spread that or move that around the fret there, and then go to the 7th fret. Okay, now we're back up to here. And then you just end it from there. So why this is important to practice, you're going from the 5th fret to the 7th fret to the 12th fret. There are kind of different adjustments you have to make depending on what fret you're playing the harmonic on. And so you want to try to think about when you're practicing that the 5th fret and the 7th fret are not quieter than the 12th fret. So that may mean that you pick just a little bit louder or just a little bit more on the 5th and 7th and a little bit lighter on the 12th. You want to look for a nice even sound in all of them. But again, the most important thing is what's happening on your fretting hand. It's making sure you're directly above the fret bar and knowing how to get those notes to ring out and not choke them as soon as you play them. So now that we've broken down all the detail of what's happening here, let's head into the practice session and play that together.